Hey.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I'm so excited to have you on the show with me today. And as you can see, I have a guest. So today we are going to get inside the minds of today's millionaires. And as you know, I bring on all kinds of people from all walks of life that do all sorts of neat things. And we just kind of talk and interview and see what's happening and see what's happening in their mind. And ideally, they'll share some little nugget that may be the thing that you've been needing to hear to kind of help you make that switch from what you do to entrepreneurialism. And so today I have Sief Khafagi. I had to write it down phonetically. I said it right, Sief?
You got it.
Khafagi. I'm like, woohoo, proud of myself. So today you are my wicked smart man.
I'm lucky to be here, Dwan. Thank you.
That's how we roll here. You be the wicked smart man today. So as you all know that listen on the regular, the motto at Dwanderful is people before profits. So if it resonates with you, you're at the right place, right time, and I got a great guest for you today. And we just, and also you can find me at Dwanderful.com, Dwanderful. I took Dwan and wonderful, and I made a new word. So it's Dwanderful. So Steve, how are you today?
I'm good. Enjoying the middle of the week here and just getting ready to prep for baby number 2. We got baby number 2 coming in 6 weeks, so it feels so close yet so far. So we're excited.
Oh, babies are so cute. Do you know if you're having a boy or a girl?
It'll be our second boy.
Oh, 2 boys. Nice.
Yeah.
My son is 31. He has 4 kids. They had 2 girls, waited a couple years, then they had 2 boys. So I have a Winston and a Benjamin.
It worked out very well.
Yeah, and I like those names. It's like, oh, those are like good names. Those are good, strong names. Winston and Benjamin. Except they call the baby Winnie. I'm like, listen, when that boy's like 6, you guys go, Winnie, he's gonna hate you.
Call him I would understand it.
Call him Winston. Because like Benny is one thing, but Winnie, it's like, oh man, don't call him that. That's like Winnie the Pooh. He's gonna be called Winnie the Pooh his whole life. So I'm trying to break the habit of everybody nicknaming him Winnie. And I'm like, the poor kid will be doomed to be called Winnie the Pooh his whole life. So don't do that. Winston.
I will take that advice. I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
Well, you got to think about, when you nickname your kids, they don't outgrow it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like an 80-year-old man, like, hey, Winnie, what's up? So I call my kids by their name because if you nickname them, that you can't ever outgrow a nickname. And my husband, his name is William, and he goes by Bill. But as a kid, people called him Billy. So he's like 64, and people go, hey, what's up, Billy? I'm like, who are you talking
to? I see you're protective on the names.
And then he's like, I'm like, Billy? Seriously? So anyway, but I love Steve. That's a great name. And I asked you before we started because that it's Egyptian.
Yep, I am full Egyptian. Did the whole DNA test and came back like 99.9.
Oh,
as close as I thought I would ever be.
Or were you born in Egypt?
I was born in the States. So my parents immigrated here back in the late 80s, early 90s, and had both me and my sister here, and we've been here ever since.
So you did the DNA thing and you're like, that's it, 100%. That's so cool.
Oh, that was so funny with my wife. She's like, wow, you weren't kidding, huh? Well, she's like, it's pure.
It really is. And that's rare because when you take, like we did our thing and we're like a little piece of like 100 things. And even though, my whole life, families from England and Ireland, we're 100%, we're English, 100%. And then you get the DNA, it's like, okay, but we're like a part of like 50 things. So it's kind of cool when you find someone that's like literally 100% of that, because maybe that's common. I feel like in America, that's not common because we're a melting pot. Maybe in other countries it's common, but I feel like here, if you're 100% of one thing, that's a big thing.
It's rare, and I'm very proud of who I am. But I think whatever mix you are, you're a wonderful mix.
You're awesome. I was super excited to find out we're like 1% African. I was like, woo, look at me. I got some going on over here. I was so excited about that. But then I think my family's Irish. I'm like, I don't know how that worked out, but It's kind of fun. Okay, so not to get too super sidetracked, we actually start off. We have drinks with Dwan. So I am having a tea. What do you have there?
I'm having a glow for some afternoon pick-me-up energy.
Oh, nice. Okay, so cheers. Thank you for being on my
Cheers.
show today.
Thank you for having me.
And everyone, we take a drink. We take a deep breath. We do a stretch. We wake ourselves up. And we set our minds to learning and to having fun and having a good time together. So, see, first of all, what we do is I like to have my guests tell us who you are, how we get a hold of you, and like really brief, like 1 or 2 sentences, what you do. And then I am going to ask you a bunch of questions to find out how you got to be where you are today. So we want to know, what is your deal?
So my name is Sief. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Techvestor. We help busy professionals invest in the short-term rentals passively and get that beautiful cash flow and tax benefits and investing in a new and alternative asset class powered by technology.
That was great and short. Usually people talk
There
for
it
like
is.
5 whole minutes. It's like, no, a sentence. Okay, how do we get a hold of you?
So you can reach us out. You can reach me at sief@techvestor.com. That's TECHVESTOR.com, or just by heading over to techvestor.com and learning a little bit more about us.
And you're on social media and stuff too, right?
A lot of people on our team are. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm just at Sief Khafagi. Generally across those locations. But a lot of my team likes to get social, so feel free to interact with any one of us.
I think I follow you. I think I might follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
I try to follow everyone on Instagram that is on my show ever, because I'm super interested in people. So okay, so I love the fact that you are into the short-term rental space. So you help people.
Yeah, I help people invest in short-term rentals passively. So just like you might just like you might invest in, say, multifamily, in a syndication or a fund of sorts. Same exact thing that we do, but the asset class of choice is short-term rentals. And the thing that we do a little bit differently is we built technology around the space that allows us to operate at a higher profit margin, better cash on cash, better returns. It's one of our competitive advantages. Primary reason for that is myself and Sabrina, we're the 2 co-founders. We come from a background of technology. I spent 5 years at Facebook. She built AirPods, it's the very same ones I'm wearing right now. And the world of real estate is very, it's great. It's human driven, as it should be, but it's missing a lot of technology and automations in so many ways that we've been able to bring and offer that to our investor base.
So much. I've been investing for 30 years. So now think about this. In 1990, there's no internet. You can't go online and look for foreclosures. There's not even a GPS. You have to use that map book to get your way around and find things. And so when I meet people now and they're like, oh, I can't find a deal, I'm like, listen to me. I had to drive to the courthouse and hand write, and I had to map things out. You have everything in the world right there. You don't even have to have it, just right there. So you cannot tell me you can't figure it out with all the technology. But you're really right about that, because real estate investing, as far as especially things like that and rentals and management, there's not a lot of technology with it. There is more, obviously, but it's really in the last few years that has become a little more tech savvy, I think.
Yeah, for us, we built technology around a few key things because it was lacked in the space, because the space really hasn't seen an operator like us, right? So for us specifically, to buy one short-term rental, maybe you do everything manually, but we're on number 43 in less than 8 months. So how do you buy 50, 100, 1,000 short-term rentals without underwriting every single property in the world, right? And so for us, we built software that underwrites for us, right? And 94% of the time, the property sucks. So we're not wasting time. We're focusing our energy on the 6% of deals that actually make sense, right? So we built software around that. We built our own operating dashboard that allows us to actually run these short-term rentals. Give you an idea, in Q2, we ran our properties at 52% more revenue and 42% more occupancy than our competition, right? Because we built an operating system for our short-term rentals. And because of these things, we're able to identify and lead with data every little action that we do. So we built for ourselves first because we were solving for the struggles and pain that we felt as operators. And I think a lot of our investors who are definitely looking for that technological edge can understand and align with that, because technology is not necessarily a bad thing. We believe real estate is a human-driven business, and we believe it'll always be that way. But we absolutely think that there are ways that technology and automation can improve the experience for both investors and operators alike.
They can. And you get a lot of people like I'm in my 60s. So I've been investing for a long time. So you meet a lot of people that have been investing 20, 30 years already. And we weren't raised with, keyboards at our fingers. So when you have investors that are a little, I'm not going to say older because I don't consider myself, but a little more seasoned, technology is a struggle. Like for me, like straight out technology is a struggle for me. I have to learn something new. I initially would I'll watch videos, I'll learn. I'm like, screw that. So I need to learn something new. I just hire someone, like, listen, work with me for 2 hours and teach me how to do this because I don't have the time to try to learn new stuff.
Dwan, you are, first of all, you don't look a day past 20. And two, you're running an incredible podcast. I think your technological edge is incredible, I'm sure. And clearly you're adapting, right? You also don't last in the real estate business 20, 30, 40 years without adapting to the market and the things around you, right? So kudos to you there.
So thank you. And I accept the compliment. I thank you for that. So I do mine on Zoom. And if people are like, oh, Dwan, you've been going for a while, you need to go to StreamYard. I'm like, it needs more technology. So every time I have to up something, I have to take a minute and mentally prepare for it. So I am the kind of person that would love someone like you that could say, look, here's this thing, here's this dashboard, you can invest, we'll find your properties, we'll do all that. I am that person that now has learned how to delegate everything, and it makes life so much better.
Yeah, and I think that's what we see from our investors, right? Like 90% of our investor base identifies as a busy professional in some sort of high income, high demanding job, either at home or in the workplace. And they want to diversify their real estate investments outside of the traditional things. And doing a short-term rental is very hard to do it yourself, especially if you're doing it out of state, renovating it, designing it, furnishing it, running it, operating, unless you want to, of course, give up 30 to 40% of that revenue to some property manager that's probably not going to care about your property as much as you do. And they don't have the technology that we have either. So that's why I think we win on the front of STRs. And I think we build a lot of trust and confidence with our investors because of those things. We were there. We were our investors, right? Yeah. Sabrina and I were working, high income earning jobs in demanding professions in technology. And we had the capital, we just didn't have the time or energy. So we had to build solutions for ourselves. And that's exactly what we built for ourselves, is the type of community that we would have wanted.
Nice. Is Sabrina your wife?
Sabrina is my co-founder, but not my wife.
She's your co-founder. Okay.
Yeah.
What is your wife's name?
My wife's name is Brandy.
Brandy?
Brandy. Yep.
Brandy. Okay. So is she also Egyptian?
No, Brandy is she's half Mexican, half Puerto Rican, and half Mexican, quarter Puerto Rican, quarter Black.
Oh my gosh, you must have the most beautiful children.
we are very blessed. I don't know if you could see, but here's
oh my God.
This is Zane. He's honestly the sweetest boy I think I've ever met in my life in general. Sweetest human being, and we're hoping baby number 2 is just as sweet. But you know what they say, you can't have it both ways. So I'm sure one of them.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Zane's a good name too. Yeah. That's a strong name. Okay, so you guys, in addition to the tech, you actually find, rehab, fix, get ready, these short-term rentals, and you do it with investors. So if I'm someone, I say, hey, listen, see, if I want to buy into one of your things, like, do I have to be accredited? Can I just drop some money? Like, what's the deal for me?
Yeah, so we work directly with accredited investors exclusively. So if you go to techvestor.com, you book a time with one of our team members and talk to someone on our investor relations team, you do have to be accredited to invest with us. However, if you're not accredited, you can work with several of our partners. You can also reach out to us and we can refer you over to one of our partners who do invest with us through a different investing entity. It's called an SPV. But the process is very simple. Your minimum is 25 grand. You're an instant shareholder in a portfolio of short-term rentals all across the country. It's fully passive. You have a beautifully branded investor experience that you can log in, see how everything is doing in real time with updates. We update you every quarter at a minimum, usually more often than that. And you receive quarterly cash flow. And when it's tax time, you get a beautifully done K1. It's already done for you. You can upload it to TurboTax or give it to your CPA and call it a day. We want to
Nice.
make sure the investor experience is super passive and super insightful, right? We lead with education first. In fact, if you read any of our quarterly updates or watch our videos, everything we do comes from a sense of how can we educate our investors on
Yes.
why this is happening. Even today, right? Like we're in somewhat of a volatile market. We've seen interest rates rise
Mm-hmm.
78% since launch. Cost of labor is up. And does that impact our underwriting and our projections? Of course it does. Does
Yeah,
that
of
mean we're
course.
not doing well? No. Out the gate, and some of the thing of short-term rentals, we're hitting anywhere between 8 and 9% cash on our properties, and that's before stabilization, right? And we compare that to multifamily, right? That's more than double often what you see in multifamily right
Yeah,
out the
it
gate.
is.
So this is the type of asset class that we think is mispriced. You buy a single family home, you operate it in this way, and then down the line, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, because this is a 5-year fund, we're going to sell this portfolio based on revenue, right? Just like you would sell your multifamily portfolio
Yep.
as well.
Nice. You guys are like, you have it down to a science.
It's short-term rentals is a lot of science, but I'm telling you, it's a lot of art. In fact, one of the lowest hanging fruits we do, which is our most impactful, is our ability to design and renovate these homes, because it's just like Google, right? When you type in something on Google, how often, Dwan, do you go past page one? It's rare, right? So it's about what shows up. It's about intent. It's about what looks good. Aesthetics please the
Yep.
eye, right? It is part of the psychology of a technological product, and also about ranking. So because we come from a tech background as well, we understand how people's psychology book an Airbnb, but also how Airbnb builds their product, right? And so it's all about showing up and being relevant in the right place at the right time. And those are some of our very low hanging fruit strategies to drive additional revenue. And that's why we perform in the top percentiles that we do.
Nice. Now, are you doing Airbnbs like for people on vacation for a few weeks, or are you renting to like executives for a few months at a time, or are you kind of doing a little bit of all?
Yeah, I would say about 80 to 90% of our guests are typically booking for a weekend to a week-ish, right? So they're typically travelers coming for some reason. It could be business or pleasure. But it's not really a midterm stay is what you're describing. So 30
Mhm.
days, 60 days, 90 days. Most of our homes do not, go for that. A lot of our homes are bigger. They have beautiful big murals. They're designed for bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, golf trips, families, cabins. Rarely will we buy a 1 bedroom, 1 bath condo in the city of,
No,
say,
you can't put
in
anybody
some
in it.
in some metro, right? The margins aren't incredible there for what we do, and also it's not just as fun. We get really creative with the design on our homes, and it's one of the biggest things that allows us to outproduce. Is you look at our properties, I mean, it's eye candy, right? And because it's eye candy, it allows you to book better rates
Yeah.
more often because people care about their environment and what it
Yeah, they
looks like.
do. Especially going on vacation. You're like, don't want to stay someplace that's all, I don't know,
Yeah.
like that's part of the whole vacation experience. So now, do you personally help design these and decorate them and make them aesthetically beautiful and pleasing? Do you personally help do that?
Yeah, no. So Sabrina runs our entire operational arm. So she runs an incredibly lean operation with design and everything in house. So we find it, we design it, we furnish it, we renovate it, we operate it. We do everything completely vertically integrated, and we're the only company in the entire country, down to a T, that we can do everything in house.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't think I know anyone that does all of that.
Yep, we're
And
fully vertically integrated.
it's so interesting about like short-term rentals. Like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, if someone would have said, "Oh, I'm doing a short-term Airbnb," everyone would be like, "I don't even know what you're talking about," because it wasn't even a thing. And
Yeah.
now there's so many people doing it, but so many people do it so wrong. And
Well, we actually never intended to do everything in house. So the story is when we launched in Q4 of 2021, we were like, we're going to raise the money, we're going to operate the pricing and the revenue, and really just drive a really successful business. And we'll just basically outsource everything else to the big guys, right? People who are a specific niche in whatever that space is, right? Whether it's acquisition or whether it's renovation or management or whatever. And you know what we learned? Nobody could do what we do to the extent and the expectation and confidence that we could do it in. Now, it was hard. We took the harder route to get here, right? To build everything in house, to build that infrastructure. But that's exactly why our infrastructure is so valuable today, right?
that's why people will pay for it, because
Exactly.
you didn't just build it like for someone else, you built it for yourself. And they were like, hey, I have something here that other people would also like.
Yeah.
And now, let me ask you this question. Do you, can people be a part of your, like your tech without being a part of your Airbnbs? Can they be like, hey, I have 15 Airbnbs. I really like your technology. Can I pay for just that portion and not be a part of all your stuff? I have my own thing, but I don't know how to manage it properly. Can they do that too?
They can't today, but it's one of the most common questions we get from Airbnb hosts who reach out to us is, hey, can we leverage or hire you guys or your team or your software in any capacity? And we've had several venture firms reach out to us who are saying, hey, would you like to raise money to scale the software side of this, right? And it's something that we will probably consider in the future, but it's one of our biggest competitive advantages today. We believe that in order to build the best possible product, we should build it for ourselves. And if it works for us, then that product will and probably work for mostly anyone else. And so we are our first customer, right? We're building for ourselves.
Yeah, I love
right?
that. But here's the thing. Because that's why I'm thinking like, wow, I know so many people that are in the Airbnb space that would love to have your technology. But here's the thing. If you sell the technology out and your brand and name is on it, and the next person that has their own little syndication and little thing, and their properties aren't as good or as nice or whatever, then they're going to throw it back at you. Like, well, I got Sief's thing, and these properties don't compare to what he has, and you know what I mean? So other people could actually bring down like the beautiful thing that you guys have built.
They could, but I think you made a great point at the beginning of the show. And I think it's what you and I also believe, that people come first, right?
Yeah.
You can give anyone all the software and technology out in the world, in the world of real estate. And if they're not good operators and understanding what they're going to do, they're going to fail, right?
Yep.
The software we have is not rocket science. It's not the reason why that we exclusively do well. It's because the people who are using the software and their qualitative knowledge and quantitative understanding of the market as operators. And that's my entire team. And I'm so proud of the team that we have. That's the competitive advantage, right? The tools are great. The tools make life easier, right? But the people using the tools matter more.
Yeah, I do. I've always like, people write these big, long business, what's it called? This is my,
your business plan.
Yeah, no, not the plan. Oh, when you have like, I can't even think of the word. I'm missing a word right now. And they said, and I like, mine is like people before profits. People write these big, long, their motto or whatever it's called. There's a word for it though.
Yeah.
Like our motto over here is like that, and it's like 87 lines. It's like, oh my God, nobody reads that. So just like, I'm just like people before profits, that kind of says it all. So if you fall into that, what's it called when you write up your business? It's not a motto. It's
like your vision or your mission
statement, your mission.
Yeah.
Sometimes I miss words. If I haven't used a word for a minute, I'm like, okay, where did that word go?
I'm with you.
A long time ago, I had written some big old long mission statement. I thought, oh my gosh, like seriously, whoever reads those? I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to use 3 words. If people don't get it, then.
Well, you joked about my intro, and you were like, tell me how to get in contact with you and what you do, right? And it felt like it was very well put together. It's because we've thought about it, right? And we've been through it, right? We're like, this is who we serve. We serve the busy professional who doesn't want to do this themselves. They don't have the time, energy, or know-how, and that's fine. We are there. The expectation as humans is not to be able to do everything. In fact, life is not intended for you to be able to do everything yourself. Life is intended for you to be able to do a few things very well and understand the benefits of letting other people do other things for you.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
That's the only way this works.
I love it. I loved your intro because honestly, when I tell people like, give me the short version, sometimes they'll talk for honest to God, like 7 straight minutes. It's like, you literally just said every single thing I wanted to ask you about. So you were done. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. He understood the assignment.
This is where that TikTok theme song should come straight in, right? He understood the assignment.
It's like, I got it. I love it. Yeah, I love what you do. I mean, I have to be honest. I haven't looked at all of your stuff, but just listen to you talk about it. Like, I feel excited. I want to be a part of the excitement.
We would love to have Dwanderful things with us.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. All right. So let me backtrack just a little bit. So how old are you now?
29.
You are a baby.
It's we're getting a couple white hairs every once in a while,
Oh,
but
please.
we are a young team for sure. But you know what, I joke about this. We built our advisory board uh, the way that we did because we were a young team. We actually went out, we reached out to key people in the industry, and we are like, look, we need some white hair on the team. Why? Because there's going to be things that we come across that we don't know how to deal with. Because
Right.
guess what? We've never actually been through a recession. You ask me, Steve, how would you deal with a recession? I will give you every analytical answer in the book, right?
Mhm.
Have I studied it every possible way? But have I ever actually been through a recession and dealt with one? Never have. Haven't lived through one, right? At least certainly
You
not as
might
an
be getting
adult.
ready to have that wish right now.
The good news is I feel better than ever about our team and the ability for us to execute in that environment because of the structure and the advisory board and the knowledge we have
Yeah.
in terms of our ecosystem. And I
Yeah.
think that's another testament to people over profits.
Yeah, no, it really is. I love your heart about that. It's just funny. Because I interview a lot of people, and I'm at a point now where I have a hard time telling how old people are. Like, I don't know if that's because you just get older, because your kids get older. And I'm like, people tell me their age, and I'm always surprised either by how young or old or whatever. But I'm like, 29, you are a baby, and that's amazing. But see, you're in the generation. What's your generation? You're not millennials. You're called
I
Gen
think
X, I think. No,
I
X
think
or Z.
I'm
You're
Gen
Gen.
X, Gen X, right?
You're Gen Z.
Gen
X,
Z,
Y,
one of
Z.
them.
I think you're Z. I googled it the other day.
Let's see. I think
Um,
I'm pretty positive Gen Z.
yeah.
Yeah, or millennials. Gen Z or millennials? Millennials. Millennials.
Now,
There we go.
millennials, I think the cutoff age, I don't know. My son, my youngest one is 31.
Mm,
He's still a millennial.
yeah,
So you might still
got
be. That's would have been there. But I was
it.
reading just like days ago, I was reading about the new generation, what they're called, the Gen Zs. And it just talks about like so many interesting things about your age group and just the technology and how it's so natural. And like you're the generation, the millennials too, but your generation is 100% born with all technology skills. Millennials, still some of them can be in their later 40s, and they weren't necessarily born with like a keyboard at their fingertips. I think the Gen Zs are the first generation that don't know any other way of life except technology.
Yeah, and you're 100% on that, right? My wife's brother, he's 14, and we had a funny moment. I think it was last Thanksgiving, and we
Uh-huh.
said, "Hey, how would you call somebody?" Right? Like, what's the move that you make when you call somebody? And like, you or I might go like this, right? Like
I
this
still
is
do that.
yeah, that's the phone signal, right? Or like the phone thing. He goes like this.
Oh,
And because he's used to holding his iPhone like this,
that's funny.
right? And as soon as he did that, we just died laughing
Uh,
because it was just so evident that he's not known anything else but technology, right? And
yeah,
honestly, he is 10 times better at technology than most people I know, and he's only
yeah,
14 because it's all that he, is built around. And, being around technology because of our places of work and what we do today, I think
uh-huh.
we're certainly more advanced than the average consumer for
Yeah.
sure. But I mean, there are so many things that we can do and still improve on, and we're very excited with where that can go.
It's interesting to read, and I read about stuff like that because I'm 63 and I teach real estate investing, and mostly I like to try to work with like new people. So I
Yeah.
read about different age groups because I do have people that are 25 years old and want to work with me. Well, I need to understand them, and then I have people that are my age that want to work with me, and I'm like, listen, you need to understand me, okay?
Yep. Yeah. All right.
And there's in
100%.
between where like I get a little bit of both because of my kids and my age and so I try to sort of stay up with like where everybody is at. But the Gen Zs are the first, like straight up, no, like if you put them in a room with a rotary phone, they would not even
They
know
would
what
they
it
wouldn't know what to
was.
do.
I watched those
Uh,
videos of kids trying to dial phones, and it's so funny because it's like, how do you not know that? But how would you know that?
they wouldn't. You
Okay.
just have to experience it, right? And I think that's half the battle these days.
Ah, it is. It is. It is. I love technology, but for myself personally, I'm just like, such a learning curve. So sometimes I'm like, you know what, listen, like I said, I'm like, let me just hire somebody, show me how to do this or do it for me. Let me just pay you to do it for me. And then I can do what I like to do, which is talking, teaching, interviewing, and I don't have to deal with all the stuff behind it because it is more of a learning. I mean, for me anyway, I don't know. I was raised like in the country and in the boondocks, and I didn't even have a computer till in the 90s.
Well, you wouldn't be able to tell today. You wouldn't be able to tell, right? You integrated yourself well with tech, and it clearly shows.
It's my pink hair. It throws everybody off. People just think I'm hip because I look cool. It's like I'm not really that hip. It's just I just throw people off because they're like, "Oh my God, she's got so much happening over there."
Perception can be reality sometimes.
I tell people that all the time. Perception is reality.
Yeah,
If people think you know something, then they
and
believe
it
that you
is.
do. If they think you don't, then you don't. So I believe perception is reality. So I'm just like, yeah, this is it. All right. So let's kind of go back a little bit. So it's not really that far back because you're just 29. But when you were like a kid, like 13, 14, like where were you living? Like what was that Sief doing? What was the young teen version of you?
I was living in a small town about 45 minutes north of Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
And, I was curious at the time. When I was younger, I would always, really do one of two things. It was take apart computers. I thought I was going to be an engineer for like when I was very young and put them back together. And one of my first businesses actually right around that time is I used to buy cars and flip them. My dad used to take me to go basically buy the car because I was too young to buy the car, right? Driving in California is 15 and a half, 16. And we would buy the cars and bring them home. We'd potentially fix them up. Often, never even actually fix them up. We just bought them well, right? Which is the first thing. Which is the first thing that it taught me about real estate.
That's right. That's the
right?
first thing. Buy it right.
Buy it right and make money right, just right there. Because cars are not an appreciating asset, at least not until recently. And we just bought it right, and we'd flip them, and we think over the course of like a few years, we probably made 70 grand, which I would roll into my next business. And that was a sports camp that I ran for predominantly the summers, but then became a year-round program for kids in like the county that I grew up in. And then I would sell that business a few months later after launching it. And so I found myself in a position where I had a decent chunk of money and I could buy my first property. And so this was young Sief. This was like right around
How old
high
were you when
school
you bought
Sief.
your first property?
17, 18.
Really?
And I actually couldn't do everything myself because I wasn't, A, I didn't have all the money, and two, I didn't understand it. So I went halvesies with my uncle. The property ended up just dying, right? Like so quickly. This is like, again, you're thinking like at this point, it's like between 08, 2011 timeline,
Oh, like right
right?
in the whole big giant recession, everything was tanking.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know any better. So anyway, we lost all my money. My uncle got all his money back because it was obviously my decision to kind of move forward in that. And what it taught me is probably the most expensive lesson that I'd ever learned, which really understand what you're buying and lead with data, right? I made that as an emotional decision as someone who wanted to get into real estate because I thought it was cool. And my parents at the time, thankfully, were like, "Look, it's your money. If you want to buy this property out of state, go for it." Again, people often forget that like back in 2008, 2012, even into the late 20 teens, buying a property out of state was like unheard of. Like you
Most people today still won't do it.
they won't do it because they don't understand it. They're scared, but they're like, the first question is like, how are you going to manage it? Because you almost have to, you feel like you have to have eyes on it. In fact, my uncle was the one who got me interested in real estate, and he owned a few properties locally. And every week he would take me and we would drive by the property because he needed to feel confident that the property was still there. Like it was tangible, like someone could pick it up and take it away.
Yeah.
Right. And for a lot of reasons, that's what I thought the world needed to be. But as the market evolved, I also learned that real estate does not have to be local, right? Invest where it makes sense is the first thing that you should do. And today, 43 properties into our short-term rental fund and over $25 million spent, right, in the last 8 months. I think I have personally seen maybe 3 of them, right? Like not like, and they're all, well, I shouldn't say they're all performing incredibly. Like we're performing the fund on a portfolio level incredibly, but 70-80% of them are like really great high performers. And the others they're hitting their numbers. And guess what? They're there. They didn't move.
They're there. But you know what? That's true because I do a lot of training with brand new investors, and I always say right out of the bat, buy stuff out of state. And they're like, "Oh, you do just like that? Oh, I'm gonna be able to look at it, I have eyes on it." It is so hard to get people to buy out of state.
Yeah, and I understand it, but that's almost exactly why one of the reasons we exist. right? If you don't want to do it yourself and go figure that out yourself, great. You can invest with someone like us or someone that you trust in some other capacity or some other asset class and
Yep.
get exposure to that asset class. And this was all made possible by things like the Jobs Act in 2016 that allowed people to get more exposure into this space. Now, there's protections in place or things you should check and things that you should vet, but there is more access than ever. In addition to technology, we've made such leaps and bounds on the regulations and legalities of the space.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. We buy properties out of state, almost all of our properties. We live in Denver, Colorado. So in Denver, like if you want to buy a rental, even like in the hood, a rental is like 550,000 bucks. So I can take the same 500,000 and go to Clinton, Iowa, and I can buy a house that's a 3-bed, 2-bath for 50,000. I can buy 10 of them for the same exact amount of money. So we started buying. I mean, I've always bought out of state, but people still are like, "Well, how do you manage it out of state? Like, who's there for it?" I'm like, it's all done.
You're like, there's this thing called the property manager.
Even young people, it's hard to get people to do that.
Yep, exactly.
That's why I like funds and things like yours, because I think if they can see you, they can look at it online, they can see pictures, they feel like it's almost like being there.
Yeah.
It's still, it is a hard thing to get people to like let go of stuff. I totally get that.
I joke with our investors and I'm like, we have like 100 photos per property. So feel free to go pretend like you're there and use this thing called Google Earth.
Yes, I know. You know, I gotta tell you, the first time I did Google Earth on my own house and it zoomed down on my own house, I was like, okay, I don't know if I like that or if it's creepy. Because it's like, there's my house. It's like, oh my God, I don't even know what I think about this. Because you know, I kept going down, because we live in 10 acres in the mountains, and like you could see everything. I was like, I don't know. Like, if I'm on the back deck laying out, can somebody see that? Like, I don't know if I like this or not. So it was cool, but it was the very first time I was like, a little bit unnerving. So, all right. So I'm going to ask you just some random questions.
Sure.
And I know you're young. So what's your favorite band of all time?
My favorite band, honestly, you know, when I was growing up, I was such a fan of the Backstreet Boys. And like, let me tell you, I was a fan back then. I don't know if we want to consider them a band, an actual band, but I'm just saying they were a thing. And if, you know, that just a dirty passion of mine back in the day.
No, my daughter loved Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and I know the words to all the songs.
And I do too.
I listen to them with my kids, and I can do all the dances. It's like I love boy bands. Yeah, now mine go way back, but I was in love with the Jackson 5.
Yeah,
like marry Michael Jackson when I grow up, because they're the boy band. He was my exact age, and the Osmonds. It's like, oh, I'm going to marry Tony Osmond and Michael Jackson. Oh, and then
he's an incredible track record for good performances for sure.
But they were a boy band back in, gosh, I know, that's like the 70s. Holy cow. Boy bands are the best. What's your favorite food?
You know, personally, I love French fries. Like, I know it's just super simple. Super simple. One of my favorite things I've ever gotten in my life. I was in Amsterdam. It was the first time I'd ever seen it. They literally have like shops that's just about French fries and like 40 different sauces.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is dream. This is heaven. And it's just I love French fries. I don't eat them all the time, but when I do, man, could I crush me some French fries.
Now, I've been to the stores at Amazon. It's the first time I ever saw like that too, and I was like, wow, why don't they have these in America?
Yeah,
what super cool. Fries are your favorite?
I'm sorry?
Whose French fries are your favorite?
You know, personally,
your own.
Actually, I don't even think I like my own. But my favorite personally are going to be McDonald's fries.
Me too.
It's just, I mean, that with a Diet Coke, and you know, like I can be healthy like 85% of my life, but there will be some parts of my life where I'm like, just give me some fries.
I know.
Just give me some fries.
McDonald's. When I'm craving fries, I only go to McDonald's. If you just want the fries, I feel like you can't beat their fries. It's like,
yeah.
But I have mine with not a diet. I have mine with the fattening Coke.
The good stuff. The good stuff.
It's like, listen, at this point, it's like, I don't care. If I'm going to eat the fries, I might as well just have the Coke too. Like, and then I throw salt on top, so they're not, and I make it extra salty. It's like, oh,
yeah,
favorite thing. What is your favorite part of the day?
I think it's actually right when my son wakes up. right? Because at this time I've gotten a little bit of work done, got a little bit of quiet time. But him in the morning, he is just so happy with just waking up and like
Oh,
taking on the day. It's a motivation I never thought would be a huge motivating thing.
yeah.
And it actually just makes the rest of my day get through easier. I work from home. Our entire team is remote, and being able to just hop out and go see him from time to time, and it's the best 15-minute pick me up that you'll ever get.
Yes. I know. I love babies that wake up so happy.
Yeah, he
So
is
good.
always so happy. He barely cries, sleeps through the night. He's the happiest child I think I've ever seen.
All right. So, the chances of getting two of those are rare.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm like I'm counting my blessings on one hand right now and hoping that I get lucky in some capacity that we can repeat, rinse and repeat.
Follow the first one
We will see.
and be the
We'll
happy baby.
see.
Okay, I'm gonna have to interview you back when your baby's about a year old and see how the second baby was.
Yeah. Touche.
That's fun. All right, so I always take a few notes, and I always so at the end. So first of all, I just want to thank you for being on the show today. I would love to talk to you more, but I know that you have another call, so I can't keep you on a little bit longer. So I always like to kind of just do a quick review because we call this session like inside the minds of today's millionaires, and we're just trying to find out like what makes people tick. And first of all, I love your name, A.
Thank
I
you.
love that you're 100% Egyptian because so beautiful, so handsome. Babies like to die for. But I love your whole what you do. So I'm gonna do inside the minds of Sief Khafagi.
There we go.
Phonetics. Okay, so 29, having a second baby. Person's name is Zane. Wife's name is Brandy. Don't know what we're naming the baby, so you didn't share that with me, but that's okay. Sief at techvestor.com. And you basically do short-term rentals. You have developed some amazing tech to help manage and do the short-term rentals, which I think is really, 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 really seriously needed in our industry. And you work with accredited investors, $25,000 to buy in. They make between 8 and 9%, which is good. When you were in LA, when you were young, living outside of LA, you were curious. You would take computers apart and put them back together, which is super fun. And you would buy and flip cars, which was I've never met anyone that said that. I was like, oh, that's a first answer right there. I love that. And you started a sports camp, which I didn't get to ask you. What kind of sports is it?
Basketball and football.
Nice. Sports camp, which is awesome. And then you started doing the short term. So you started in the time of the crash and kind of crash and burn on that first deal. But thankfully, you got back in it. Now you find them, you design them, you run them, you do the whole thing. You like the Backstreet Boys, French fries, and you love when your son wakes up.
Best part of my day. Always will be. In fact, some French fries when he wakes up sounds like an incredible
Doesn't it?
do a little morning.
Their morning hash browns are good too, though. It's all
Yeah, with you there.
Yeah, they are. I know it sounds so bad for you, but I swear, I don't know. It's like my secret. My secret like that is like all of it. Okay, so folks listening, thank you for coming on the show today. I'm trying to wrap up real quick because I know Steve has another call. You can find me at dwanderful.com. And I always ask to do me a favor. If you like the show, if you had fun, if you laughed, I want you to subscribe, to follow me, leave a 5-star review, and write something and tell us how wonderful the show was. And Steve, the last thing of the day is I'd like our guests to leave us with a parting word of wisdom, but actually just a word.
Curiosity.
Ooh, I love it.
One thing I will always lean on that allowed me to get to this position was curiosity. Challenge the status quo.
I love it. You're the first person that you gave us the word curiosity as their word. So, guys, curiosity is your word of the week. And that's why I like to podcast, because I'm curious about it. I'm genuinely curious about people. So I really like talking to people and getting to know different people.
Yeah, I'm super excited that we have this podcast, and I would love to come on with both babies in a year and tell you exactly how it went.
We're coming on. That's a date. I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to put it on my phone. I'm going to call you next year and be, hey, it's time. All right, guys. Steve, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time. I know time is valuable, so I appreciate it. And everybody else, you can find us next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And remember that the truth is in the red letter. Okay, everybody. Ciao. Steve, thank you again.
Thank you, Dwan.